Hola amigos, bienvenidos todos a un nuevo programa de...
Hello everyone, and welcome to our show, The World, El Mundo. And today we're going to talk about police and society. We heard on the media about the state of the police in the United States, and we'd like to ask you, Dr. Leitman, welcome. Hello.
Vamos a comenzar con un tema realmente de actualidad y es que a raíz de las protestas
And let's start with something very current due to the social protests in the United States, due to the death of George Floyd in the hands of a police officer. There's talk about dismantling the Minnesota police, to stop funding them, but this is an initiative that can spread all around the United States. Police, as an institution, is it necessary in every society? I don't understand this question at all. How can a society exist without police? Police is that force by which the government connects with the nation. There's the government and the nation, and who mediates between them, who organizes, makes the entire connection between the government and the nation, the people. Police. There are different other ministers and things, but it is a system that is entirely built in such a way that it exists in every city, every neighborhood, that knows what's going on every street. The police knows about everything that's going on in the city. It has many representative stations. It's impossible without police. And in the United States, even in calmer countries like Northern Europe, Finland, Sweden, still you have police. But here, how could it be? How can the government give up the police? It won't know what's going on then. What's going to happen today, tomorrow? Only through the police it can say. Well, the government also has other people and secret organizations like the FBI, like other organizations that also investigate what is going on in the streets and national security. What's going on within the nation, but actually the police. Why am I asking? Because we have examples like in Costa Rica, for example, they have no army, which is something inconceivable. And in the United States, there are different forces. Some say that there has to be some kind of force, but more like civil guard or something, a new format, and not the police as we know it. Because people simply don't trust the police. If so, the question is, should they dismantle the police and start anew, or think about how to correct it? I don't know about the ways of how to heal the police and its attitude and its connection with the population, but obviously, without such an organization that is connected both to the population and also to the government, that will keep these laws, will not be able to exist without laws. Who's going to keep them? When you bring a person to court and he's sentenced, who does all of this to carry out the sentence? Police. When people have some problem at home, on the street, who do they call? Police. To the contrary, The police, all the more, it seems to me that their role is more important, more and more important from year to year, because our ego is growing all the time. We're getting wilder, more drugs, more problems, and so we need more police force. And the police isn't only what we see. There are such forces that they're undercover. We don't see them. Different agents of different kinds, that are within society, that penetrate different gangs, different. It's all police. So there cannot be a civil kind of guard like there is, like their bodies, suppose, in the different districts, or something that's more related to the neighborhood. There should be such a body in every country. I don't know about all countries, but in the state that there is today, where we're all egoists, and that we develop from day to day, that our ego is growing from day to day, and that there's more and more disorder every day, then of course we need police. Only we have to see how can we improve it. But there has to be police. It states in the Torah, in the book of Deuteronomy, you shall appoint judges and officers at your gates, and they shall judge the people justly. Can you explain, please, what does it mean? That what we have received from nature, God, the Creator, it's nature. What we have received from nature, that this is how, by nature, we build our regime, the nation, our education, culture, life, conducts of work and society. We are even obligated, I'd say, to build a police force that will help us keep the laws that we decide on, meaning we as a nation have to decide on certain laws and to crown the police for it to protect us according to these laws. All in all, what follows is that we choose the Father, and the Father has to keep us. But without that, it's impossible. Because there are thousands of different opinions and people. They're stormy, they're agitated, they don't understand each other, different parties, religions, opinions. You have to calm all of these things down somehow and to bring to some kind of a balanced state. And this is something that you can do only by force. And this force is the police. And our problem is that suddenly we don't give police the force that they need. We don't reinforce it. We're saying that you're wrong. We're like children going wild, not wanting to listen to what our parents are telling us. And what happens then? It's a country can't work without that. When you're saying that, we have to decide who will protect us. What criteria should a judge or an officer meet? Well, first of all, these aren't ordinary people. They go through special courses, and all the time they're learning all the time more and more. They also study laws, the law, how the judicial system works. Many of them even finish university, from what I know, graduate from the university and study law and adjust themselves all the time. So I think that the police, and also according to the budget that they're getting, which isn't a big budget, in this budget, they're really trying to act. I see that their work is really blessed, and I really respect them. Wherever I met them, I saw that they're working hard, and that many times they're, in a really tough spot, in a tough situation, where you have the government on the one side, and ministers, and society on the other side, and civilians and people, and everyone wants something. So here they're in a non-simple situation. We also see it especially in the United States, that even though that by law they were supposed to act like in a certain way, but according to how things are on the street, it's better not to act that way. So on the one hand, they're demanded to do this, but on the other hand, they know if they'll do that, they'll have problems with the government or even with their bosses. There's lots of politics involved here. They all the time have to be very diplomatic all the time. And therefore I really understand them, and I think that it's necessary to strengthen them more and more. As always, there are two sides to the coin. There's also a lot of wrongdoing on part of the police, that sometimes they use it incorrectly or vice versa. What should the boundaries of the police be and the point of connection between police and society in order to have a harmonious and just society? I can talk about it much because I think that the police deserves much more respect and forces and budgets. I have lots of respect for the police. Very hard work. That they really have to be both tough, but also indifferent and sensitive, and also gentle, and have to understand everyone and to be between everyone. They have to understand a little child, but also a woman and a man and the Afro-American and the white and the Latino and the Asians, and the police is in between. And therefore, all of these calculations and relations and everything that there is, really, I wish them lots of patience and strength. In such cases where they cross the line, there are such cases under different circumstances, that they use excessive force, for example. Not everyone, but there are those that cross the line, or they themselves breach the law. How can you create more trust? I think that that's also not exactly true. The masses, they're like children. They have to be afraid. They have to be afraid of the police. That the police might beat them up, put them in jail, that they can even sometimes be a bit cruel. The masses can't just go wild like we see them in New York or in different other places. There's a limit to everything. These are people that are simply starting to breach all boundaries. And so I think that this is the problem of the police, that their hands are tied, they're handcuffed, that they can't show their force. And on the other hand, when they erupt, they also sometimes erupt in a way where it breaches the boundaries, but it's a problem because there too you have people working, and from day to day, when they feel how disrespected they are, and you see how on purpose what they do to them on protests, how the masses behave toward the police with what disregard, as if it's some kind of something that you can do whatever you feel like. I wouldn't allow that. You have to respect these people and give them forces and to increase their force. Of course, they're under strong pressure, and sometimes they respond the way that they do. You're talking about a kind of education that all of society has to go through. They too should go through an educational process like the rest of society. The problem is that how come that a citizen in a country doesn't go through education, course after course, that they have to pass and study and take tests and exams. Doesn't matter who that person is, what kind of work does he do, what age is he. Everyone has to all the time get more and more knowledge about where he is, the world that he's living in, how the world's changing, what's going on, what are everyone's privileges, and also obligations. A person who grows up in America is if he owes no one nothing. No one can come up to him, and this is something that we see. We see these results. Something optimistic to close the show. Optimistic. I hope that such riots like the U.S. is going through will eventually do something good. I also hope that if not by this regime, and by another regime that will be Democrats, for example, but they'll have to restore order. Against them, there will also be rioters. And then we'll see what goes on. Dr. Leitman, thank you very much. And see you on our next show. All the best.